All right, let's jump right in. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on two of the most fundamental ideas in all of programming: variables and data types. By the end of this, you'll get the secret behind how literally every piece of software you use manages to remember stuff.
So, let's start with a really simple question. You know when you log into an app and it says, "Hey, welcome back." How does it do that? How does a computer actually hold on to a piece of information like your name?
Well, the answer is actually way more intuitive than you might think. Computers basically use the digital version of a labeled storage box. That's it. It's just an organized way to put information somewhere so you can find it again later.
Okay, so theory is one thing, but let's actually see this in action. We're going to create our very first one of these digital boxes using Python.
So, in the world of programming, this digital box has an official name. We call it a variable. Just think of it exactly like that. It's a named container in the computer's memory. You give it a label, you put some data inside, and you can grab it later just by using that label. Simple as that.
And here's what it looks like written out in Python. This one little line of code is a direct instruction to the computer. It says, hey, create a new box, stick the label name on it, and then put the text Najmol inside. Done.
And if we break that down, it's super straightforward. On the left, you've got name, that's our label. That equal sign in the middle, that's the action. It basically means assign this or store this. And on the right, you've got the actual information we're storing, the text Najmol. That's the whole thing right there.
Of course, just like you wouldn't label a real box with a bunch of random scribbles, Python has a few simple rules for how you should label your variables. These aren't just for fun. They keep your code clean and prevent a whole lot of headaches and errors down the line.
So let's look at the big ones. First, your variable name has to start with a letter or an underscore. That's why you see my_name works perfectly. But trying to start with a number like in toName, nope, that's a no-go. Also, no spaces are allowed. If you have two words, you just connect them with an underscore. And here's a really important one. Names are case-sensitive. So a lowercase h and an uppercase H are seen by Python as two completely different boxes.
Okay, so we've got our boxes, we know how to label them. Now we got to talk about what actually goes inside. You see, the type of information you store is just as important as where you store it. Python needs to know what kind of data it's dealing with. I mean, think about it. You can add two numbers together, but you can't really add your age to your name, right? Data types are what set those rules.
Let's just go back to our box analogy for a second. In your kitchen, you have containers for liquids, boxes for dry goods, right? You wouldn't store soup in a cardboard box. Programming is the exact same. Each container, each variable, is designed for a specific type of content.
And this table right here shows the four main flavors of data you're going to use all the time. For any kind of text, we use something called a string. For whole numbers, like an age, we use an integer. For any number with a decimal point, like a price, that's a float. And last but not least, we have booleans, which are super simple. They can only ever be true or false. They're like a light switch.
You know, one of the really cool things about Python is that it's designed to be helpful. If you're ever looking at a variable and you're not quite sure what kind of data is inside, you can just ask. You can use this little built-in function called type function, and Python will tell you exactly what's in the box. It's a great little trick for checking your work.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground. We've got our variables, which are the boxes, we know the rules for naming them, and we know about the different data types that can go inside. So now let's put all those pieces together and see what it looks like as one complete picture.
So here it is, a perfect little snapshot. We've basically created a mini profile using four different variables. We're storing a name, which is a string, an age, which is an integer, a height, which is a float because of the decimal, and we're using a boolean, true, to show that yes, this person is a programmer. See how each piece of information gets its own labeled box with the right kind of data inside?
And listen, don't let the simplicity of this fool you. What you're looking at right here is the absolute foundation of how all software works. I'm serious. Every single app, every website, every video game is built on this one core idea: creating labeled containers to store and manage information.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. By understanding how to create a digital box and put something inside of it, you've just wrapped your head around the single most important concept in all of programming. Really, the only question left is, what are you going to build with it?